The Complete Guide to 80s Music. The 1980s saw the emergence of electronic dance music, Madonna, hip-hop, big hair, and much, much more.
Pop. The sound. Pop is anything that is just fun and chart-friendly. It's instantly likable, danceable, and singable. Or just really annoying. Music fashions come and go, but pop is always in the mix somewhere. It's always on the radio, and the 1980s produced some of its biggest ever stars. The look. 80s pop was dominated by two people, Madonna and Michael Jackson. Fans of Madonna loved her early quasi-punk look, the messy hair, deconstructed clothes, and tons of bangles. Fans of Michael Jackson liked to wear very shiny red leather jackets.
New Wave. The sound. At the end of the 1970s, superficial disco, Sister Sledge, Chic, and progressive rock, Genesis, Pink Floyd, gave way to punk, the Sex Pistols. But punk's angry guitar rock was too aggressive for radio stations, so record labels produced a softer version they called New Wave. It would be the dominant sound of the early 1980s. The look. New wave bands had to have attitude. Their look included everything from black denim, leather jackets, and messy hair to shirts and simple suits. But all of this had to be worn with that I don't care attitude.
Rock. The sound. Rock has lots of subcategories, but we're talking about the pure football stadium rock that first emerged in the 1980s with artists like Queen and U2. Rock that got thousands of people holding lighters in the air and burning their fingers. Rock so big and bombastic that it risks becoming ridiculous, but just gets away with it. The look. This style of rock pretends not to have a look, because that isn't a rock attitude. The idea is to act as if you didn't think about what to wear and just naturally ended up looking cool in a casual, denim-heavy way. It's an art.
Synth-pop. The sound. The arrival of the synthesizer totally changed the sound of music in the early 1980s. At first, it was enough for a track just to have a cool electronic beat, and nobody worried too much about melody. But the music got progressively more textured and ambitious. The look. Synth-pop bands rebelled against the unadventurous look of new wave. Suddenly, male musicians were wearing kilts and silk shirts with big scarves. They were part of a movement calling themselves the New Romantics, and they were not afraid of a little eyeliner and blush. It lasted a year or two before they calmed down and wore designer suits instead.
Hip-hop. The sound. The genre that conquered the world, hip-hop first entered the general public's consciousness just before the 1980s with Rapper's Delight by the New Jersey trio Sugar Hill Gang. At the time, it seemed like a novelty record, a one-hit wonder. But by the end of the 1980s, hip-hop would be the dominant force in music and the only genre-criticizing society. The look. The look differed depending on the exact period and subgenre, but hip-hop in the late 1980s will always be remembered for the no-lace sneakers and trousers below the bum look introduced by gangster rap. Totally impractical, this style required dedication.
Goth rock. The sound. When punk imploded, new wave was not the only byproduct. Many of the punk artists were attracted by what would become known as goth rock. It had punk's sense of alienation, but wasn't nearly as aggressive. Goths were sensitive outsiders, not angry rebels. The look. Black. Black denim, black hair, black eyeliner. If you wanted to be more adventurous, you could try for a 19th century romantic look with some lace or velvet, But still, it had to be black.
Two-tone. The sound. In the first few years of the 80s, the independent British record label Two-Tone Records made a big impact with a number of multiracial ska bands. Ska originally came from Jamaica and was the predecessor to reggae, sharing reggae's distinctive rhythmic structure but played in a much faster and more energetic way. The look. Two-tone bands wore tight suits with thin lapels and pork pie hats. As the name suggests, they dressed in two colors, principally black and white.
Hair rock. The sound. This is where rock goes when it loses any awareness of its own absurdity, and the 1980s was full of it. Hair rock is music at maximum volume, a kitsch genre dominated by mostly American, mostly white male guitarists who make their instruments scream while throwing their heads around in a potentially neurone-damaging fashion. The look. First of all, hair. Lots of it. Hair down to the shoulders and blow-dried to the ceiling. Tight trousers that leave nothing to the imagination. Shirt open to the waist, gold necklace. Oh yeah, total sex god.